Okay, so I'm a career civil servant and I've worked for the Met Office in various roles. I've not always been in a property role. So I've done everything from looking after a team of people who test software to looking after the weather forecasters, and now I'm head of property management, which I've been doing now for over 10 years. So my team have responsibility for facilities management. So that's everything from cleaning through to restaurants and cafes. The estates team, which deal with all the leases and rents, and the kind of landlord engagement. Health and safety, and that's health and safety for the whole organisation, providing the appropriate advice for all the different activities we do. Most of our activities are sitting at a desk, but there are some things that we do that are a little bit more on the dangerous side, like going out into the ocean to maintain ocean buoys, for example. That's quite dangerous, going on a boat, etc. And then security, so physical security of all our buildings and all of our sites comes under me. Building management, again, looking at how the buildings are working and making sure that temperatures, airflow, etc. are right. And then critical infrastructure and compliance. So compliance is all the things around statutory maintenance, and critical infrastructure is the M&E that basically supports the supercomputer, and the supercomputer at the Met Office is where the weather and climate predictions are calculated, and that's the part of the Met Office that most people will be familiar with. And my team look after the cooling and the electrical supply to make sure that computer keeps going 24/7 a day. So I think COVID has been probably the biggest challenge in our industry over the last 18 months. And we're now sort of looking at how do we get back into the office space in a way that we can capitalise on some of the good things that we've learned during COVID. So the ability for people to work at home, the Met Office was able to send everybody home, and things that we didn't envisage before being able to be done from home. For example, the shift workers work 24/7 and being able to do some of their shifts from home has made a massive difference to them. So we're trying to kind of use that very challenging time to kind of learn some lessons and find a different approach to work. So everybody will have heard of hybrid working. It seems to be what it's labelled as these days. And the Met Office is looking to make sure that we can give staff as much flexibility as possible. My team also deals with a lot of things that are to do with the environment. So some of the projects that we're looking at are increasing the number of electrical vehicle charging points in and around the estate, so that if members of staff buy an electric car, they know they can charge it at work. And we've also used drones to experiment with cleaning the outside of the building, so that you don't have people having to work at height to do that. And the other thing that's worked out quite well for us, and which we're exploring further, is the use of sensors. So being able to put sensors into meeting rooms to check ventilation has helped us to determine what is the max occupancy of a room. And we're also using that for quite a lot of things around well building. And we've got an air quality award, a silver award for the air quality in our offices, which we were able to do through using sensors. So there's quite a lot of quite interesting modern things on the horizon that the team are quite excited to get involved in. You know, when you do air quality monitoring, you look at everything from the amount of dust in the air to pollen, and as well as, you know, oxygen levels, carbon dioxide levels, and anything that we've been able to do to kind of measure that, and then of course take those measurements and improve on it, makes a big difference to people. Yep, okay, so it's back to hybrid working and basically how that is going to impact on people and premises. I think we are all aware that during COVID, some people really adapted very quickly to the whole idea of working from home and doing things interactively, whereas other people have suffered a little bit, and the lack of engagement with other people, has caused some people to feel isolated from each other. So we're trying to sort of think about that when we have our discussion at the CMO Summit, and look at how it impacts people, and the other important part is how it impacts the premises. So if you're like me working in a property environment, it's how can you exploit the estate for the benefit of your organisation. So in our case, we're looking at where people only being able to only coming into the building about 40% of their working time, which then leaves a large areas of the organisational space unoccupied. So that's some of the things we have to kind of grapple with. What are we going to do with them? How are we going to change things? And changing people's accommodation can be quite an emotive subject. If you're only going to be in 2 days a week and you're not going to have your own desk, and it can provoke a lot of emotions in people. So it's trying to deal with the changes to the workplace and how that affects people, really. So trying to get across to people that by making these changes in the workplace, it gives you as an individual more control over where you work, how you work, and gives you maximum flexibility to put your work around your life. So, there's lots of people have caring responsibilities, be that for children or older relatives. So if you can flex your day, which means you're able to kind of deal with these other things, it takes a lot of pressure off employees, which makes for a much better working environment for them. Yeah, so I think this is one area where we'll have to have a lot of flexibility over the next, I would say, 18 months to explore what the different methods are out there and which ones will work for us and which ones won't work for us. Because some things that might work for one company might not work for another. So we have to try different things out. I think also the technology has improved significantly over the last 18 months. I think big tech companies have had to accelerate things like Teams and Zoom to make them work in this new hybrid way. And there's also other technologies that have come onto the marketplace that are quite cheap and cheerful, which you can put into a meeting room and get quite a good experience from. So we're kind of in my organisation kind of experimenting with those things. So we're equipping various meeting rooms out with different types of technology to try and enhance the meeting experience. But as an organisation, we've also put in a concept of remote first. So what you need to do is when you're making a meeting, consider if there's people going to be remote and how do you make the experience the best it possibly can be for the people that are remote. And if it works well for them, then it will work well for people in the room. So rather than just booking a meeting room and expecting people that aren't physically at the meeting to join in, we've kind of turned it the other way around and said, right, this meeting's going to be remote. How is it going to work? And then people come into the meeting with that concept in mind, and we'll just see how that works, really. So I think in meeting other people and talking to people about their different approaches to things, and discussing what challenges you've particularly got at the moment and finding people who have maybe solved some of those challenges. I think networking is another important thing, and it helps you to kind of get contacts in different parts of the industry so that you can go and ask questions of people, go and help with their knowledge and experience, find solutions, and equally you're in a place to do that as well, to come back and maybe give people the benefit of your experience. I think you can be more creative when you're collaborating. So when you're having different ideas and you're able to talk to different people, I think it can make a solution to a problem much much more nuanced, so you can look at it from the different angles and listen to what other people, how they've come at a problem, and it might help you to actually come up with a better solution than you might have had in the first place. And networking at the end of the day is building relationships with people who are like-minded, so being able to talk to people about the same things that you're interested in is always a benefit, I think. Well, I do think it's some of the sensor technology in our industry has come on leaps and bounds on the use of sensors. I think things like drones and robotics are things that we should really start experimenting with. So we've used a drone to clean one of our walls and treat the outside wall so that it doesn't go green, basically. So putting on the right coatings and things on the walls, and that stops the need for people working at height, so you're also solving a health and safety problem. We've also got on the market vacuum cleaners that are robotic, and we've also experimented a little bit with them. So we have a couple of big IT halls which need to be kept really quite clean for the use of the supercomputers, so being able to have little robots scurrying around the floor cleaning up could have a massive improvement to the air quality in IT halls. So I think looking at robotics and drones is a good way forward. And as I touched on before, also there's more people now very aware of air quality and ventilation, so looking at things like more sensors to manage your air quality and measure your humidity and the temperature. And we know that humidity and temperature have a massive effect on how well people work. So if you can give people a really good working atmosphere where the humidity and temperatures are monitored and checked, I think that really helps the employees to think that they work in a really good place, and it gives them that ability to concentrate. We all know that fresh air is good for your brain and good for you to sit down and think. So you're improving the environment all the time for the people that are working in your spaces.